Nigeria has taken another loan from the International Monetary Fund (IMF), amounting to $2.5 billion, which raises the country's total debt obligations to over $110 billion. This deal has garnered mixed reactions, with some expressing deep concerns about its potential economic implications. On the surface, the terms of the loan appear relatively attractive. It is set at a 1% interest rate, with a repayment period of 40 years, and no payments required for the first 10 years. However, the terms may have hidden drawbacks. Notably, the loan must be repaid in foreign currency, specifically Western currencies. While the Nigerian naira is experiencing significant devaluation each year, the naira has lost about 50% of its value in the past year. This depreciation means that, from an economic standpoint, the effective interest rate could dramatically increase to as high as 51%. If the naira continues this trend, what seems like a manageable debt could devolve into an economically crippling obligation. To illustrate the severity of the situation, let's consider a scenario where the naira depreciates by only 10% per year, which is a more conservative estimate. By the time payments on the loan commence in 2034, the originally borrowed amount of $2.5 billion could balloon to approximately $7 billion. This would equate to payments of about $1 billion annually for 30 years, culminating in a total payment of around $30 billion under a 10% inflation rate. Additionally, the loan comes with stipulations that could further strain Nigeria's economy. Nigeria is required to maintain a significant portion of the loan amount as foreign reserves, limiting its ability to utilize much of the money for immediate domestic needs. Moreover, the country will need to reduce subsidies on oil, which could adversely impact its economy. There are also requirements for reforms to facilitate greater competition from Western banks against domestic Nigerian banks. While it is acknowledged that the current administration has inherited numerous economic challenges, the terms of this loan could contribute to long-term financial instability. Nigeria has substantial resources and a skilled workforce, indicating that it could achieve greater economic potential without over-reliance on foreign loans. This situation raises an important question. Should Nigeria have accepted this loan and the attached reforms, or would it have been wiser?
As a professional, and secondly, I speak as a Nigerian, nothing more, nothing less. Professionally speaking, the Finnish authorities have done their due diligence and they have reasonable grounds to arrest Mr. Simon Ekpa. And in that arrest, they followed due diligence to now charge him based on the information we are getting. Obviously, we still have a lot of work to do for clarifications, to authenticate all these informations. Now, with that due diligence done, it's now meant for the law court in Finland to now look into the request by the Chief of Defense Staff to extradite Simon Ekpa to Nigeria. Professionally speaking, the chances are possible to extradite Simon Ekpa to Nigeria. However, in my opinion, it's almost impossible, though it's not 100% impossible, because one, there is no extradition treaty between Finland and Nigeria. Number two, the Finnish authorities have every right to take him to court to answer to the charges against him, and that is perfect, that is due diligence. And afterwards, don't forget the CJEU, the Criminal Justice of the European Union, also have a right under the European human rights to also test if he is suitable to be extradited to Nigeria based on one, the charges against him, and number two, the fundamentals, because he has to defend himself in a court of law. You cannot just bring charges without him answering in response to the reasons why A, he's inciting violence, to the fundamentals why he thinks there's a reason for him to request for self-determination for the people of Biafra. The Criminal Court of Justice of the European Union has to check if they believe in self-determination. They have to check if they believe in human rights abuses, because bringing that man to Nigeria is a great idea, but I'm not sure that the Chief of Defense Staff should go home and relax and sleep, because they have to consider the human rights records in Nigeria as a country. Obviously, we are all Nigerians. We know our human rights records. There is nothing to boast about. And in instances like people that have disappeared in Nigeria, off my head, Daddy Yatta is still being looked for. Nobody has seen him for years. The people that participated in the so-called EndSARS protest, many of them, after the panel, no human rights justice for them. The people that were involved in the End Bad Governance protest, no human rights for them. Even last week, we saw the human abuse of a couple by an army general. Up to today, we are still hearing. Or about politicians who believe they can buy the justice system in Nigeria. Or politicians who believe they can buy vehicles, build houses for justices. So obviously, we have to understand that Simon Ekpa has to answer to his charges against him. I think that's due diligence to do, and I support that. However, we have to also ask ourselves, can the Finnish authorities, if they want to copy what we do in Nigeria, example, Simon Ekpa is a politician in Finland today. He joined politics in 2017 and is a member of the National Coalition Party, the ruling party in Finland today. They won their national elections in February this year, and they have a president of the country. Simon Ekpa also served the country as an army officer. Now, if you look at this human rights records in Nigeria, what Nigerian politicians have done about justice in Nigeria, do you think the National Coalition Party of Finland will feel comfortable to extradite Simon Ekpa to Nigeria based on zero extraditory treaty between Nigeria and Finland and based on human rights of Nigeria in general? So I think the right thing has been done. Okay. But in conclusion, sir, I think Nigeria also has the copy from Finland to know that due diligence matters.